For a lot of students, homework can be a real chore, but for children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, it can be almost painful. Completing tasks such as writing down assignments, bringing home books, and remembering due dates is often a struggle, one that impacts not just the student, but the entire family. Brianna Petry and her identical twin sons, Miles and Owen, know the frustrations well.
When the boys were little, I had an in-home daycare, and I could definitely tell when they were toddlers. The hyperactivity was definitely noticeable. The impulsiveness came a little bit later when they were more getting into school. The whole general concept of the inability to focus was definitely apparent once they got into the elementary school.
Miles and Owen, who are now 12, were officially diagnosed with ADHD when they were 6 or 7, but Brianna initially held off on treatment.
I wanted to wait to see if we could overcome the obstacles. Unfortunately, waiting made them fall behind in school, and then it started to affect their personalities more, the anxiety, depression. They could see that their peers were moving ahead of them and that they were struggling.
Brianna knew they needed individualized education plans, IEPs, and worked with the school system to get them in place.
They were struggling with reading and handwriting, that kind of stuff. Just too many distractions in the classrooms. The teachers were making accommodations like preferential seating and more one-on-one like check-ins.
But when their teachers started assigning homework, the battles moved from the classroom home.
It was a challenge for starters getting it home. Unfortunately, by the time they got home from school, they were burnt out with the sitting. When we had to do homeschool stuff for COVID, it was a disaster. And I swore that if it happened again the next year, I was going to pay someone to do it for me because they fought me. I don't think that it accomplished anything. They weren't learning. We were all just getting really, really frustrated.
Miles and Owen recalled the hardest parts about getting the work done.
Motivation, definitely. All day long at school is just tiring. Then you have to go home and eat, and then you're still tired because of how long the day was. When COVID hit, like everyone was out of school, so we had to do it online. Also, so we weren't getting it done at all.
Brianna tried many of the recommended accommodations, such as creating separate homework spaces, shortening worksheets, scheduling study breaks, and using a reward system. But she says all too often the work never made it back to school. Then came 6th grade, and the challenges got even bigger.
Just having to switch classes so much, I think they were overwhelmed with the amount of teachers and the amount of classwork. The school that they go to has a binder that they're supposed to bring home and back to school every day. They discovered very quickly that that was not practical with my kids. We were lucky if it made it home, very lucky if it made it back to school. Whether the homework was done or not was, not even relevant at that point if they didn't have their stuff.
Luckily, the boys' teachers and caseworkers also noticed their struggles and started letting Miles and Owen keep their binders at school.
So during school hours, they're pulled a few times a week, and all of their out-of-school homework is completed in school in small groups with the teacher right in the building. It doesn't have to leave, it doesn't have to come back, it doesn't take effort and energy from us, but it still accomplishes the same things.
Brianna made sure this change was written into the boys' IEPs and says she's lucky they have a strong special education support team.
We've noticed a vast improvement in their grades. They're still taking the standardized tests, they're still doing all of the stuff that's required in the education system. They just don't have that big, heavy, weighted, oh, you didn't bring back your 45 assignments that you were due this year, so you automatically fail.
And that's a big relief to Miles, who has a more positive outlook on homework these days.
I would probably say it's way better now than before because, I had homework today. And I finished it in school.
Miles and Brianna also have some advice for parents and children with ADHD.
There's lots of resources. There's counselors, caseworkers, social workers. Usually the schools have a psychiatrist that they work with. and just utilize those resources. And if you don't get the answer the first time, or if someone blows you off, then go to the next person and just keep trying.
If you're struggling like this, just please, please listen to us. Like, find a teacher after school.
We asked the twins what they wanted to be when they got older. Owen said he wants to become a chef and feed people in need. Miles may be a fisherman. Their mom says she just wants them to be happy, no matter where their education leads them. I'm Mabel Jong for A World of Difference.